Good morning. You're watching Lithia Bay News. I'm your host, Chad Chaddington. Our top story this morning: severe congestion on the neck has officially escalated into a county-wide state of emergency. Lex Linwood's highly publicized free-flow interchange was supposed to be the silver bullet for our traffic woes. Instead, the fast-track project has backfired catastrophically. Let's go live to our reporter on the ground for more. That's right, Chad. I'm walking between miles of idling cars right now, speaking with drivers who are at their absolute breaking point. Excuse me, sir? Excuse me, sir? Oh, sorry, excuse me, ma'am? Excuse me, sir? How do you feel about the congestion in Lithia Bay?
Look, I think the mayor is just asleep at the wheel, okay? In fact, traffic's so bad you probably can be asleep at the wheel because you're not going to be moving anywhere for the next 30 minutes.
I can't be stuck here forever. I need to get home.
Hey, excuse me, sir? How do you feel about the congestion in Lithia Bay?
Boy, I tell you what, traffic's so bad that me and Bessie Sue bought some chicks from the farmer's market. By the time we finally got home, they was full-grown hens.
As you can see, Chad, there is no end in sight. Commuters are demanding answers, and they're looking directly at Lex Linwood. Reporting live from the Neck, I'm Linda Park. Back to you in the studio. We reached out to Lex Linwood's office for a statement regarding this morning's gridlock. We have not yet received a response. Authorities are advising all residents to avoid entering or leaving the city until further notice. Coming up after the break, a local child is facing federal racketeering charges after operating an unlicensed lemonade stand. Did the 7-year-old kingpin get greedy, or did he simply cross the wrong Girl Scout troop? We'll answer that and more. For Lithia Bay News, I'm Chad Chaddington. We'll be right back. With his political career on the brink, Lex decides to throw money at the problem until it goes away. He authorizes a massive, multi-pronged infrastructure overhaul to bypass the failing roads entirely. So today, we're going to launch Lithia Bay's very first ferry network. We'll construct a new suspension bridge across the water, and because Lex never misses a chance for a high-profile media distraction, we'll add our very first waterfront stadium. Let's see if we can finally fix traffic. Okay, so starting with ferries, all we need is a good location to place the ferry depot down. And the big thing about the ferry depot is that I'm not going to worry about how close it is to the ferry terminals or the ferry stops, and that's because this is going to be an extremely noisy and loud use, so we don't want to have it near any of our residential. And most likely what we want to do is bundle this ferry depot with some of our existing industrial, and really there's two options. So we have our industrial port over here, and the big issue with our cargo port is that I wouldn't want our ferries to interfere with our cargo ships. And if I was going to place that anywhere, I'd place that here. There is still one issue though, and that's these cranes right here. They're not technically active, and that's just mostly for in-game purposes. There's no reason. In fact, if we get off topic for a second, let's see what our cargo ships are doing. They both have 0% usage and 0 kilograms of cargo. So that's why I'm not going to add any more routes. But with that in mind, we still wouldn't want the ferries crossing through this area and interfering with our pretend cargo ships. So the only other place that leaves us with is right near the Lithia Bay Fishing Co-op. And I actually think this is going to be a really good spot for it to be. So first, let's grab an alleyway because we need to extend this road. And I'm mostly just going to eyeball this. I have no idea if this is going to be good placement or not. We're going to temporarily remove our quay walls from this road. And we're definitely going to have to do some dredging, but I'm going to let the game do that. So let's get that placed in just like that. I'm going to pause on the waterway connection for a second because now that I can actually see what this looks like, I want to pull it back a bit more. It would require less dredging, and to be honest, I think it's just going to look nicer. And that right there is going to be perfect. Now there's actually one thing I want to do, and that's using Move It. I'm going to grab this road and set it to be the exact same height as any one of these. There we go, that's perfect. Now let's just get this placed in. And we're also going to do a bit more dredging around the area just to make sure there's really enough room here. Now let's just finish our road layout over here. All we're going to do is connect this alleyway directly into our road. Once again, let's grab all of the alleyways and just set them to be the same height. And if my UI looks a bit small, I'm sorry. I really can't stand the default size. Now we're going to remove the quay walls on the inside. At the same time, let's level this entire lot. And now I'm wondering if we have any static ploppables that we can use to make this area look a bit more ferry-like. And unfortunately, I'm not really seeing anything. Although we do have the cargo harbor warehouses, and I actually really like this building. Let's get that placed in just like that, and we're gonna drag this a bit closer. I'm also gonna move it down by 2 notches. That way we're getting rid of all the concrete, and instead what we'll do is we'll add our own. And this dock 3 surface, I think is gonna look really nice. Now before we move on, let's just get rid of all of these trees. We don't need them anymore, and it doesn't really make sense. And actually there is one more thing that I'm wondering. Do we have the actual ferry assets anywhere? Because I'd love to get a few of them placed in. And unfortunately they float. That is the last thing that I wanted. And yeah, I'm not seeing any static versions. So for now, I'm gonna leave this area, and we'll come back during detailing to fix any issues or problems. We do have one upgrade for our ferry depot, and that's the extra hull. So it's gonna give us 10 extra vehicles. Let's get a few terminals and routes set up, and then we'll figure out if we actually need this. Now I wanna get off topic for a second, because I wanna show you what the game looks like when I don't have Lumina enabled. So I have no other graphic enhancing mods other than Lumina, and we can tell that there's this weird brown sepia-like filter over it, and depending on how far away we are, it's almost like there's a haze. Even if I'm just ignoring the sepia filter, this still does not look as good as it used to look. I'm really hoping that we get an improvement for this, or even an option to revert back to the previous settings. Alright, no more getting off topic. Before I add in our waterways, let's actually figure out where our main terminals are going to be. I see one really ideal location, and that's obviously going to be directly right here on our waterfront. Another good place to have one is going to be over here. The only issue is that we don't have any development on our waterfront yet. And what I'm thinking is we could use the Anfield Stadium and build some type of custom sporting event location. So with that in mind, we're going to place one terminal here and then one terminal over here. So first, let's start by removing the quay wall, and if I can, I'd like to try and get this somewhere in the middle, and now we'll snap that on right here. And instead of re-adding the quay wall, what we're going to do is just add a bunch of rocks here instead. I think that's going to come out looking much nicer, but we're going to do that in detailing. And before we get the next terminal in, I think we should probably fix traffic over here. These are really only going to be quick fixes. It's just things that stand out to me that don't really make sense. So the first thing is that we're going to add a slip lane right here. So let's break the node here, and we'll break the node here. And then we're going to upgrade this section to be a 5-lane asymmetric. And we're also going to upgrade this section right here to be a 5-lane asymmetric. Let's delete these extra nodes. And now we're just going to branch our road directly into this connection. And what this allows us to do is to remove this right turn. And of course, we got the amazing lane switching happening, just randomly deciding that you want to get into this lane. We should probably give this intersection some lights, because there's no way that we're having 2 4 lanes connect into each other without some type of light. Another thing that we can do is add in a roundabout, but we want one that doesn't have anything in the middle. That way if a truck's flying down here, they can just go right over the top. So let's go with this flower one. Let's also fix right here. So what we're going to do is add in one more movement. We want this side to be able to branch off cleanly into this road, which means this needs to be upgraded to a 2-lane. And we'll have that merge end there for now. And last but not least, I'm not entirely sure what happened here. It would be very important that this merging lane has its own dedicated lane. And the easiest way to provide that is to grab a 3-lane asymmetric, and we'll grab here and upgrade this all the way down. Just like that right there. That's looking really good. Except for the train tracks. That is not looking very good. And now all the lane mathematics is making sense. We're finally ready to add in our next terminal. And the reason we're going to have 2 terminals is because this waterfront will be expanded very soon. So each terminal will have a direct connection into the other terminal, but the primary route for each terminal is to move people along the shore. And that's going to be true for this side as well. So first, we're going to start by flattening this area out, and we're going to need quite a bit of room to get our stadium in. Now, of course, the only issue we're going to face is that the water is not even close to high enough. So this brilliant idea of flattening everything just doesn't work. It might be okay for the stadium, but overall, it won't be okay for the ferry. And I want to use the narrow boatway to do all of our dredging for us, that way I don't take it to the extreme. And to show you what I mean, let's place down a narrow seaway right here, and we can see that this is the extent of dredging that's needed. So on this side, I'm going to say that I want our main ferry terminal to be located right about here. And now I just want to grab this height and flatten everything out. Now we'll delete the waterway, and we should be ready to add in our ferry terminal. We'll get that placed in just like that. Create a nice little pad around it. Now before I figure out the road network, I just want to get our stadium in. And I don't know why, I just really like the idea of having this near our highway. I'm going to tilt this off to the side, and using Move It, we're going to set it to be the same height as this node. And I know things are looking a little bit crazy right now with the terrain. Don't worry, we're going to fix that. Let's temporarily delete this road. Now we need a high capacity road because this stadium is going to draw in a lot of traffic. I'm going to go with the 4-lane expressway, and that's because I feel like it's going to be a good fit for this area. And now I want to get a flat spot for a road right here, and we just need a nice gentle curve and then a direct connection into this road. And a direct connection doesn't seem too possible, so let's set up a frontage road. First, we need to curve this road just gently and send it back alongside our waterfront. Now this building has 2 main access points, and I'm wondering if I can get away with using 2 one-way alleys. And no, it doesn't seem like that's going to work. I was really hoping it would. And then this is looking just a little bit ridiculous. So let's use the vanilla asphalt surface. We'll snap onto the surface and we just want to pull this all the way across. And at first, I thought it looked a little bit ridiculous, but you know what? It doesn't actually look all that bad. And just look at all of that traffic backing up. It's honestly kind of crazy. The real question is, where are these people going? So they're all just going to different houses. Which begs my next question is, where are they coming from? I'd love to see that information. Anyways, now that we have our second ferry terminal set up, let's clean up our stadium really quickly. And before we do anything else, the first thing that I want to do is wrap a quay wall around this. And if we're lucky, we have just enough height to add in one of these fancier quay walls. And we definitely do. But how does that look once we complete a little bit of dredging? And no, for once, instead of having too little height, we actually have too much. I'm going to keep it as a normal divided pedestrian and bike path. I'll also make it a quay wall for now, but we might change that to be some rocks later on. Really, the big thing is that we want the bicycle path to be on the inside, because most of the pedestrians are going to come here and look at the water, and they're going to love the views, and we don't want to risk anyone on the bike getting pushed off into the water. I'm going to quickly connect all of this in. Now I'm going to use this Rural Express one-way highway. We're going to snap it to the building just like that, and then we're going to do a nice gentle curve in. And in a similar sense, we're going to do the same thing from this side. And what I'm trying to do is create a predictable pattern for traffic to flow. And now I've cleaned up some of the movements just a little bit, so we only have one left and one right turn here. And then on this side, we have a clear left lane with a bunch of queuing space, and then we only have one right lane. And it's a similar thing on this side. We have one through lane and one right lane. I could do a bunch of crazy things to fix this junction and make it a lot cleaner and safe, but as of right now, I actually think it's pretty good. There is one thing that we need though, and that's a variant of this 4-lane expressway that's a 3-lane asymmetric. So we're just going to delete one of these lanes. And I accidentally applied all of the upgrades to every single road in the entire city. I really hope that doesn't break anything. This time, let's use it as a template, and now we can delete the road. I'm going to call this a 3-lane asymmetric. We'll fix this side, and now we'll upgrade this side right here to have our 3 lanes. And then last but not least, we just need to clean up all of our lanes again. And I almost forgot, this side needs a 3-lane asymmetric as well, and that looks honestly kind of silly. And we don't actually need this extra lane here. This is a one-way road. So I'm wondering if we can upgrade this and try and fix that median in the center. It doesn't seem like it, and I really don't want everything resetting, so I'm going to leave it like that. And there we go. That is one crazy looking mess. Now, of course, the parking that we have definitely isn't going to be enough. There's only a small few sections like this around the building, so let's use these modern parking lots to create something a bit more custom. And what I love about these is that they don't actually require any power, water, sewage, anything. This means we can get a really big one and place it in, and all it wants is just the connections. I want to make sure we add in this alleyway first, and I want that to terminate right here, because in a perfect world, the cars are just going to come in, maneuver their way around, and then enter the parking. So I think one of the key things we want to do here is delete this parking. And I actually want to delete this road as well, because we'll make a connection using our alleyway. And I decided to do this instead because I feel like it just makes way more sense. I want to pull back these nodes though, to make each of the turns nice and gentle. And now we have 2 sets of parking lots. This has a capacity for essentially 200 vehicles, and this one has the capacity for 100. This is a pretty massive stadium though, and I don't think we're going to get away with this much parking. The description says that it has a current capacity of approximately 54,000. Our measly 300 parking spots is not even going to be close to enough. I've ripped all of the parking out, and that's because I want to rework it entirely. And I imagine this to be the most expensive parking. This is the premium parking. Now let's add on the upgrades for both of these parking garages. And of course there's a tornado. Oh, come on. I'm just going to keep building and hopefully nothing bad will happen. Don't get any closer, please. Nothing like a tornado just devastating everything around us. Anyways, these 3 parking garages give us capacity for 900 vehicles. There was a part of me that really wanted to go ham on the parking capacity, but from an in-game perspective, I doubt even one of these parking garages is going to get filled. So this is where I'm going to leave it. We could always add a less premium, more off-site parking station here. If by some miracle I do see the demand, I'll do it. Before we continue with our ferries, we actually need to solve a water problem in Lithia Sands and Bayfront Civic Center. It just seems like there isn't enough water. And what we could do is connect our water pipes from our groundwater pumping station all the way down here. But this is a really far distance, and I just don't think that we're going to be pumping water all the way down here. So instead, let's quickly solve this by adding on the northeastern water tower, and I'm only going with this one because it has the highest output. And let's also get this place on the highest spot, and we're just going to use a normal alleyway to connect in. And of course, we got to put one of these cool stickers on, so we will go with the welcome one because it's the only one that faces this way. And before we leave this area, let's actually make sure it looks just a bit nicer. So we'll grab our 3 trees and we're just going to spray them all over. And I gotta say, that's probably my favorite feature from the new update. Okay, now it's time to get our seaways in. I'm going to follow along the deepest parts of our shore for now. We'll add in a connection between our 2 terminals, and we'll also make a path alongside our pedestrian waterfront. Okay, now with that done, I've recently realized that I have no idea how ferries work in this game, and that's because I've never actually used them. For some reason, I thought the ferry terminal pier was an upgrade, but it's actually required. And now with everything fixed, the first one we're going to add is just a quick ping between these 2. And so that's going to allow everyone to bounce back and forth between these 2 sides without having to drive. Now we're also going to add another one, and that's down here on this side. And it doesn't want to seem to snap on the right side. So I'm wondering, what if we remove the key wall? Even if I turn our snapping off, it doesn't seem to work. So let's just use one of the ferry stop shorelines. And this is going to work just fine, because what we can do is add a bunch of rocks and really make this area look a little bit better. Let's just make sure this is connected in. And then all we have to do is add in one more route that's going to ping back and forth. And there we go. Now there's a few more important things that I really want to do. One of them being, I want to add on the bus terminal to the ferry terminal. But in order to do that, I think it would make more sense to have this road connected into somewhere first. And that's because we could make the connection from our bus station, which is down here, all the way to our bus terminal down here. I want to make sure that the route we're going to give the bus has the absolute best possible access. And I also want to think about where this area is going in the future. We can kind of look at the water line and see that our road is underneath it. Probably not too good. And the next big consideration is that I think we're going to have to run a bridge from this road into the other side of the city. And that's most likely going to connect into this road. Now that's an important consideration because we want to make sure that our bridge has enough height and enough clearance, and that we're not going to do anything crazy with this road. So looking at the most direct bus route that I can find, it's going to be from our bus station. They'll turn into this road, follow alongside Jasmine, head down Main Street, and then connect directly in. Which means we're going to connect this road into this one. Before we do that though, let's add in some capacity for this road. And I want to try and preserve all the buildings that are already here. So let's use our 4-lane road. This one's 2.4 units. It's custom made. It's slightly smaller than the normal 4-lane road. And yeah, that's pretty much perfect. I don't think we're going to require any eminent domain, which is exactly what you want to see. So we'll get that upgraded directly in the middle. Now I've removed some crosswalks and I'm going to quickly set priority. Now with that in place, let's rework this road. And last but not least, we're going to add on our bus terminal. And that's going to remove some of the parking. I do want parking here because I want to incentivize taking the ferry. We won't provide much, but we will provide just a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the security booth, the security gate, and the fences. And last but not least, I'm going to make parking here free. We're going to grab one of our routes and we're going to send that all the way down this road. We're going to connect that into one of our free spots. And then we're just going to send that all the way back. And now let's give this road a name. We're going to call this line 17, station to ferry terminal. While we're here, let's quickly check on all of our other routes. Line 14 and line 15 both have crazy high usage. And it seems like line 15 goes down to Keysville and back. Let's increase the capacity here to 6. And then for the Walnut Circulator, let's just increase the capacity to 7 vehicles. And on our station to terminal route, we aren't making any stops along the way. Let's change that by adding 2 stops right here. We're going to drop this ticket price down to $2. And we're only going to go with 2 vehicles unless we see more demand. We'll make it a nice blue color. And would you look at that? Absolutely no traffic anywhere at all. Which means I think we can confidently say that ferries solve traffic. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys. It's 2:30 a.m. So we don't have any demand yet for our transit, and our traffic is still pretty tame. Which means we have one more fix left, and this is either going to make things better or worse. We're going to add that bridge connection. And now the reason why it's going to be added to Hazelbrook Street is because it connects pretty much the entire county all the way down to Cherrytown. Cherrytown leads directly to the airport, so there's lots of connections on that side. And then for this side of the connection, I was mostly just looking for a road that would align with this one, although thankfully it is a through road and it continues all the way down to Rosewood Highway. So if we're going to connect Hazelbrook into Hill Street, we need to change this road's direction and this road's direction. We want to try and maximize the straight segment and also minimize the bridge. So let's start by deleting almost everything over here. And that's going to break one of our routes, so I'm just going to temporarily set that to this road. We're going to take this 4-lane road, and we need to start increasing our height. Unfortunately, some more buildings will have to go, and this little parking lot right here, and everyone hates that. Now let's swap to a bridge segment, and before I leave this area, I want to make sure everything is looking really good. And I'm going to call that good enough. Now we need to align this road over here. For the meantime, I am just going to send this all the way across. And really that's only to help with alignment. Now down on this side, thankfully we have a whole bunch of green space right here. So eminent domain's not really too big of a deal. We will need to remove just a few houses. And now we're going to delete Hazelbrook Street. And we're also going to rework the angle that this comes in on. And really in order to do that, we need to chop some of this off. And then figure out what our turn needs to be. Now, unfortunately, this is where we're going to lose some houses, and we don't need to. And then all we have left is to make this connection. Now, I'm using the Bridge Expansion Pack mod, and that gives us access to the 4-lane 2-way suspension bridge, and I think this is going to be a great fit. We will need to make a small adjustment to our height here, but because we have all of our segments in place, everything is going to be pretty easy. So grabbing only the straight segments, we're going to pull all the way until that broken node right there. And then I just want to check to see which height is going to get rid of the clearances too low. And from what I can see, 20 meters is perfect. So let's start by making our connection down here. We'll snap right in the middle. Then we'll need to increase our height to 20 meters. And that's going to give us a 4% slope, which is very good. Now let's set this to 0, that way we can make a clean connection into here. Let's upgrade this section to be a 4-lane highway road. That way we're removing the sidewalks. Let's do the same thing down on this side. I would say that actually looks pretty good. It definitely turned out much better than I thought it would, and now we have a direct connection into the center of the city. And that's going to remove a whole bunch of pressure from this road. although it will add a bunch of pressure to this intersection. And it's almost rush hour, so we should start to see it soon. And there we go. There's our rush of traffic. Honestly, it makes perfect sense. Although this road in general is a very long road and connects up most of our city, we would still be bottlenecking all of our traffic into this intersection, and that includes traffic that wouldn't usually be here. So to help solve this, we're going to make a small custom interchange right here. So let's start by upgrading this section of the highway to have 6 lanes. And now we're going to branch 1 lane off of this road, and that's fairly reasonable at 3.7%. There's a little bit of jank here that we should be able to clean up with Move It. That's looking pretty good. My only issue is that this road just wasn't designed for this. This was really meant to be somewhat of an urban expressway. I also don't want to change it because I still don't think it should have sidewalks just yet. So let's use Road Builder, and we're going to use this as a template. And I'm just going to call this a 5-lane 2-way expressway. We'll add in 1 more lane. And now we're just going to use that road to fix this. And I think what's really throwing me off is the lack of lane markings. It just really doesn't look right. So we're going to swap this out to be our 5-lane rural highway, and that should fix any issues there. And I ended up having to create a secondary copy of this road, one that only has 4 lanes. That way the transition didn't look too jarring. Something I'm noticing is that cars are parking on this road, and that kind of drives me crazy. And there we go. That's a bit better. Now we need 1 more movement for turning off and getting onto this expressway. And we're just going to do the exact same thing that we did over here. And wow, I was taking a look at traffic for a second, but then I seen this. And this is crazy. What bus route is this? Okay, so this is the Walnut Circulator. The usage is just crazy, and we can't even apply any more vehicles here. So let's take a quick look and see what movement this is doing. Okay, right, so this is following alongside Main Street, going up to the train station, then back to the bus station and around. And I have a feeling that if we take a look right here, we should see a whole bunch of people. Yes, we do. At this stop alone, there's 381 passengers waiting. Their average waiting time is 3 minutes. That's definitely not ideal. So we have Howard North, so let's see where their house is. And their house is all the way down here. So what they're most likely doing is going from the train station to the bus station, and then hopping on this route, and then just walking across the plaza to enter their house. Overall, the connection is there. The big problem is just capacity. So we're going to add on a new mod to our playset, and that's called Adjust Transit Capacity. Now, if we had bigger buses in the game, that's what I would add. Either a slightly longer bus or an articulated bus. Because we don't, I'm going to pretend like we do. So in Adjust Transit Capacity, we're going to crank this all the way up to 130%, and let's check to see how many seats that's going to give us. And so now we have 103. And I'd say that's pretty reasonable. It's not a dramatic increase. Maybe we can imagine that some people are standing up, some people are crammed in. I don't know. Until we get new bus assets, this is going to be my fix. Now with that detour out of the way, funny enough, our traffic is only backing up in one direction, because for some reason the AI does not know how to zipper merge. Although I will say this is partially my fault. I'm going to cut this access off, and I'm going to increase the amount of time that we have to merge in. Because as the saying goes, just 1 more lane, it will fix everything. And we're going to have a slight jog on the road because I really want to make sure that this lane is a turning lane. Now, as we can see, it's 2:30 p.m. and traffic down here is fairly calm. The only issue is on this side. So just like we added in these 2 branching movements over here, we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Alright, there's our 2 movements. I really wanted to make it so that you didn't have to be approaching from this side, to enter the lane. Well, I guess this car doesn't care. Boom, now you can't. It was challenging to get the slopes right, so all of these movements won't be entirely perfect, but it should alleviate a bunch of stress from these roads. There's only one thing we have left to do, and that's add in the extra lane. That way all of our math checks out. Now the reason why I went with these bigger roads in the first place was so that if we ever needed to add the capacity, we wouldn't need to bulldoze anything. And that's because these custom roads are the exact same size as a 6-lane road, which is just crazy. Unfortunately, we still have some traffic down here, and that's just mostly because we have these lights here and we really do not need them. Honestly, that's probably where we should have started. We'll make this a stop, we'll remove unsafe. Down on this side, we have a problem with traffic again, and the problem is mostly just entering the city. In terms of leaving, we have no backups whatsoever. And one of the things that I'm going to do to help this is to cut this connection off. The road was just very short, and it would have been a big bottleneck. I still want pedestrians to be able to get across though, so we're going to add in that little pedestrian path. And let's just quickly fix this surface. Something I'm going to do here is add in a 3-lane asymmetric road, and unfortunately that gets rid of our trams. But if we add the 3-lane asymmetric road here as well, we should be fine. And now I just want to watch this for a second to see what happens. And I've watched it for quite a bit. I really don't think there's anything too concerning here. Sometimes it gets slightly backed up, but it's nothing crazy. In fact, I think it's very reasonable. And of course, we have more crazy lane switching down here. There is literally nothing happening, yet there's cars backing up here. And is that people walking on the highway? Why not just take the bus? You have modest household wealth. What are you doing? It's mostly just the crazy issue of lane swapping. They just decide last second, let's swap lanes. And so they immediately get in and slow everyone down. It's real life simulator. Oh wait, yeah, speed up, just to slow down, just to get in that lane. Perfect. You saved yourself 30 seconds. Bravo. Really, the only way we could give them more space is to shrink the size of our bridge, or we upgrade this entire bridge to have 6 lanes. That should at least prevent some of the crazy lane swapping, or maybe it'll even make it worse. Who knows? What is wrong with these vehicles? This bus drives all the way down to right here and decides to merge in the absolute worst spot. Alright, so one of the other big pieces of feedback was that I need to use more roundabouts. So sure, we can definitely try and get some roundabouts in. Let's try one right there, and let's also fix this road because we no longer need this additional lane. At this point in time, it's more of a nice to have than need to have. Actually, that's just not true at all. We have 2 turning lanes on the inside, which means we need 2 turning lanes here. And this is just a really ugly roundabout. Can we fix this by pulling some nodes back? And from here on out, we have no more traffic. All right, now before I go insane, I'm gonna take a break from all of this, and that's because I wanna develop this side, and I could see this being a really nice commercial area. We only have a tiny bit of commercial demand, but we are rolling in money, so let's stimulate that by dropping our commercial tax. We'll go right to 7%. Okay, and somehow that made our commercial demand worse. It begs the question, if I place a building, will something actually spawn in? So let's just grab any one of these, we'll place that right there, and we can see that there's clearly a business in here. Okay, so let's try this a few more times, maybe that was just luck. There's a business, and another business. Now there's also the problem with office demand. So let's try placing in a few of these. And what do you know? There's businesses in all 3. So I think this is some sort of bug with what we're seeing on our demand and how it's being represented in the game. And I only say that because plop the growables and find it doesn't force buildings to spawn in. You can plop buildings and have no commercial or no residents just because there isn't demand for it. But we clearly have demand. Traffic for the most part seems to be fixed, and although I did want to develop this area as a part of this video, I think I'll handle that next time. Which means we're almost ready to jump into detailing. Before we do that, let's quickly check in and see how our ferry routes are doing. We have about 1,500 passengers per month, and line number 1, Lithia Sands to Lithia Point, is our busiest stop. Surprise, surprise. And it is 2:44 a.m., so checking these right now probably makes no sense. So with that in mind, let's just get to work on some detailing. And for detailing, what I really want to do is clean up all of this jank over here. We'll throw some stones alongside this wall. I'll do something very similar with this area. And then over here, it looks like we have a burned down building and it needs disaster response units. And interestingly enough, I don't even think this area has a fire station assigned to it. So that's just my fault. Our closest fire station is our southwestern, and it does have the disaster aid office, so let's just set it to operate in this district as well. And then for detailing, we're just going to add some rocks along the side here. And I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with this warehouse yet. I figure I'll play it by ear. Now with all of that said, let's jump into detailing. Okay, and I've got good news. That entire time while we were simulating and detailing, there wasn't a single issue with traffic. And with that, I can now rest easy and move on to bigger, grander, and bigger things. Specifically, this waterfront area, which needs a bit more love. For the meantime, I just decided to spam a whole bunch of trees around because I think it makes it look a little bit nicer. But if you have any ideas for what we should put here, just let me know. Now with all of that said, let's jump into a quick before and after. And that's a wrap. I really hope you enjoyed. Today's shoutouts go to Jake Hill, Gary Key, Deku, Middleveen, Freya Stark, Michael Mills, and Evan Aird, and everyone else supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. If you want sneak peeks, save file access, or exclusive roles on Discord, you can join us over on Patreon or YouTube. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.